Hello my people, welcome to another tutorial. My name is Agnes. In today's tutorial, I will show you how I made this granny stitch cardigan. I already have a granny stitch cardigan on the channel, but this is a little bit different. As you can see, the sleeves are different and this new tutorial is more detailed, and also there's a written pattern available at yarnc.com. I will leave all the details in the description box and in the comment section so that you can be able to purchase the pattern if you like a written pattern, also the kit, so you can buy this exact same yarn from that same site. I will leave the link in the description box, and you can make this in any size. You can make it longer, shorter, smaller, bigger, whatever. We are using measurements, so that makes it easy for everyone. Using different kinds of yarn or hook sizes, you will be able to recreate this. So thank you so much, guys, for 300,000 subscribers. Yeah, I would never have done this without you. I really appreciate your support. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's start the tutorial. These are the materials. I'm going to be using durable comfy yarn. This is from durableyarn.com. I will leave the link in the description box. It's 100 grams to 66 meters. I used 5 skeins for the extra small. It is size 2 yarn or weight 2 or spot yarn, and it is microfiber acrylic 100%, and you can use any other yarn that you like, but this is lightweight. It recommends 3 to 4 millimeter hook, but I am going to be using a 3 millimeter hook for this tutorial, so you can use the hook size recommended by the yarn that you're using. The lighter the yarn, the better. You know, we want it flowing. You'll need scissors and a tape measure. So for this cardigan, we are going to start with the back panel. We'll work from one side to the other side, going all the way up, and once we are done with that, we'll do the front panels. And once we have that, then we'll do the sleeves. The sleeves are done in rounds, and then we attach everything together, and then we do this bottom ribbing, and once we're done with that, then we do this other ribbing here. And yeah, that's it. The ribbing is the front post and back post stitches, while the cardigan is made of the granny stitch. Yes, so let's start. We are starting with the back panel, and we are going to take our shoulder to shoulder measurements plus 4 inches. I'm a size extra small. This will be the same as small. Mine is 15 inches plus 4 inches, so I will chain 19. And we are going to be doing in multiples of 3 plus 2, so it will be 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2, but I don't like to count, so I do it my way, and I will just make a long chain longer than 19 inches that I need, and then I will do my first row and then cut off the excess chain. I will show you how I do that. However, if you don't want to take your own measurements, I'm going to leave you measurements that you can use that are standard, but if you want, you know, like the perfect fit, then you need to take your own measurements. Okay, so let's do that, and I will meet you once you have your measurements. So I did about 27 inches, and now we are going to do our row 1. So for our row 1, we are going to skip the first 2 chains, and into the third chain we are going to make a double crochet. So skip 1, 2, and into the third chain you are going to make our first double crochet. So this chain 2 here does not count as a stitch, so we are going to go into this very same chain, and we are going to work 3 double crochets like that. All right, so and then we are going to chain one chain, and then we are going to skip 1, 2 chains. So skip 1 and 2 chains, and then into the third chain you are going to work 3 double crochets. So that's 1 into the same, you're going to work 2, and then into the same you're going to work your third double crochet. So you should have something looking like this. Okay, and then you're going to chain 1 chain, and then you're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and into the third you're going to work 3 double crochets. So that's 1, that's 2, and that is your third one. Okay, so you are going to chain 1 and then skip 2 chains, and into the third one double crochets, so 3 of them. So we are working 3 clusters of double crochets, and you're basically going to repeat this until you get to the end. Okay, until you get your end should be your measurement. So mine is going to be 19 inches. Okay, and then I'm going to give you right after this the number of measurements you need. That is going to be standard measurements. If you want to take your own measurements, it can be your shoulder to shoulder measurements plus 4 inches. So that's how I came up to what I'm going to give you for different sizes. Okay, all right, so I have my 19 inches, as you can see. And if you want like a bigger fitting, like more baggy, then you're going to add to make more than, you know, the like 19 inches. You know, if you added only 4 inches and you want it more baggy, then you can add 6 inches to your back measurements or whatever. Just make it bigger as you like. Or if you want a more very fitting one, then you can add on just a few inches, like 2. Depends on how you can adjust depending on what you like. So since I already have my enough clusters, that is my 19 inches, this is for an extra small, by the way, so I am going to just cut off the rest of the stitches. So this is what we're going to do. I'll just count about 1, 2, 3, and then like in the 4th one just cut it off, the rest of the chain. And then with this I can just, you know, do this, and there we have it. Okay, so now we want to start on our second row. So for row 2 we are going to chain 3. So we'll chain 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we are going to turn our work like this, and we are going to skip the cluster and instead work in our chain spaces. So we are going to make 3 double crochets in our first chain space. So that's 1, that is 2, and that is 3. So it looks like this. And then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to go into our next chain space and work 3 double crochets. So that's 1, that is 2, and that is 3. So we are just going to continue working 1 cluster in every chain space. Do not forget to chain 1. So you chain 1 and then go into the next chain space and work a cluster. Then you chain 1, go into the next chain space, work a cluster. So you are going to do this until we get to the end of the row, and I will meet you there. Okay, so I have come to the end of row 2 and I worked my 3 clusters in this chain space, but now we only have a cluster, we don't have chain space. So how we are going to end it is we are going to chain 1, then yarn over, and on top of this chain 2 right here where we started on row 1, chain 2 on top of it, we are going to go into that chain on top of that chain, and then we are going to make 1 double crochet like this. So this is what we have there. So this is how you end the row. Once you have this cluster as the last one, then you end it with a double crochet. Now this is how you start row 3. You chain 1 only one, and then you're going to turn your work. Okay, so we've turned our work, and then we are going to work in this chain space here. So we are going to make a cluster in that chain space. So I'm going to make 3 double crochets in there. So that's 1, that's 2, and that is 3. Okay, so then I'm going to chain 1 and then go into the next cluster, chain space, and work 3 double crochets, and then chain 1. Don't forget to chain 1, and then go into the next chain space and work 3 double crochets, and you're just going to repeat this until we get to the end of this row, and I'll meet you there. So as you can see, I'm getting to the end, and I have this cluster here. And now what we are going to do is, in here we're going to work a cluster, but then you work 2. Oh, I didn't chain a 1. You must chain a 1. So 2 double crochets in there, and what am I doing? And then the last one, we are going to put it on top of this chain here like this, so that our work is more straight. Okay, so now next what we are going to do is we are going to just keep repeating these 2 rows. So I will chain 1, 2, and then 3, and then turn my work. So it's row 2 and row 3. So now I'm going to repeat what I did in row 2. So chain 3, turn my work, and then do a cluster in that chain space. Then chain 1, go into the next chain space, do a cluster, then chain 1, next chain space, a cluster, and basically we are just going to repeat this over and over again. So it's row 2 and row 3, row 2 and row 3, until we have the length that we want. Keep in mind the ribbing that we're going to put at the bottom, it will be about 3 inches, about 2.5 inches long. And yeah, so I'll see you once you have the length of your cardigan that you want. Just measure from the top of your shoulder all the way going downwards and see how many inches you want, and then make that. So this is what I have so far, and this is my back panel. I'm done with my back panel, and as you can see, it's about 21.5 inches long. Okay, so we are now going to work on the front panels, and I'm just going to show you how we do that. So for the width. For the width also, it increased a bit from what we had on the first row. For me, it increased to about 23 inches, and on the first row I had about 19. So it's just with the tension, these were tight stitches at the bottom, and as we go, the tension gets loose, so and make some increases, so but that's okay. So now what we are going to do for the front panels is, for this neck area here, we are going to leave 7 stitches. We are going to count first of all our stitches, right, on our back panel. So you count them, and mine are 30 clusters. Not the stitches, but the clusters. So mine are 30 clusters. The clusters is like this. these clusters. So count all of them. Mine are 30, count yours. So if you have an even number like mine, which is 30, you subtract 8 clusters. We are going to leave 8 clusters in the middle. But if you have an odd number like 29 or 31, then you subtract 7 clusters. Okay, so count all your clusters from the beginning to the end and subtract 7 if you have an odd number, or subtract 8 if you have an even number. So for me, counting from here to the end is 30. So when I subtract, I made the calculation. When I subtract 8 from that, yeah, when I subtract 8, I remain with 22. So we need to know how many clusters we need for each front panel. So since we have 2 front panels, you get that number, divide by 2, and for me it will be 11 clusters, okay, for each front panel. All right, so count all the clusters, subtract 8 if you have an even number, subtract 7 if you have an odd number, and the answer that you get, divide it by 2 because we need 2 panels. Okay, so for me it is 30 minus 8 is 22, divide by 2 is 11. So I'll make 11 clusters on this side for the front panel and 11 clusters for the other front panel. Okay, so there will be 2 identical front panels, and we are going to start like we started with the back panel, only now it's going to be less stitches. So let's do that. So I'm just gonna, for this back panel, I'm just going to chain a 1 here and cut off the yarn. Okay, so now we are going to start on the front panel. So I'm going to make a long chain, just like we did with the back panel. So I'm going to make a long chain, slip knot, chains, I'll see once I have a long chain. So I have a long chain like this. I hope it's enough. Then we are now going to start on the first row. So I'm going to yarn over, and then I'm going to skip the first 2 chains without counting this on the hook. So 1, 2, and into the 3rd chain I am going to make my first cluster. So 1 double crochet, go in, 2nd double crochet, go in, 3rd double crochet, like that. Then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to skip 2 chains, and into the 3rd one I'm going to make my 2nd cluster. So I make 3 double crochets in that chain, then chain 1, and then skip 2 stitches, and then into the 3rd chain make my 3rd cluster. And I am going to do this until I have my 11 clusters. Okay, so I have 3 already, and I'll continue until I have 11. All right, so I have my 11 clusters. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So I'm just going to cut off the excess. Just go about 4th stitch there, and then oopsie, I over unraveled it, and that's okay, you can still do this. All right, so now I'm going to work row 2. So for row 2, just like we did with the other with the back panel, for row 2 we are going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then turn my work, and then I'm going to work a cluster in this chain space. So just go in with my 3 double crochets in that space, okay, and then chain 1, go into the next chain space, make my 3 double crochets. That's my 2nd cluster, chain 1, 3 double crochets, and I'm just going to continue this. I'll meet you at the end. So I got to the end and I did my last cluster in here, so I will go on top of this chain 2 and make, oh, I forgot to do, you must chain a 1 here, and then I go into this last stitch there and make a double crochet. Okay, so chain 1, turn will work, and 3 double crochets in this chain space. So this is between the double crochet and then the first cluster, and then chain 1 and then repeat. And I'll see you at the end. So coming to the end of row 3, so in this space here between this cluster and the chain 3, we are going to work our last cluster. So just do 2 and then the last one on top of this chain in the second chain. So a double crochet in the second chain, that's to keep it straight. So that is going to be it, and you're going to repeat this pattern. So you repeat row 2 and row 3 until you get to the same number of rows like you did on the back panel. And then once you're done, you'll go ahead and do a very identical front panel, and I will see you when you have the 2 panels so that we can attach them to the back panel. Okay, so I'm done with the first panel. I did the same number of rows as the back panel, so count all the rows on your back panel and then repeat that, but in a smaller version. So once you have this, then you're going to do another one that is very identical, another part of the front panel, and you should have 2 identical ones. Okay, same number of rows, same number of clusters for these two front panels. So once you have 2, then we are now going to move on to the sleeves. Okay, so to start off the sleeve, we are going to work in rounds. The sleeve we are going to work in rounds. If you don't like rounds, you can also work it as a panel, then join everything together, but we are going to be working in rounds because it's way faster. And we are going to make a chain that is equivalent to arm width, is it arm width, around your arm. So take your measurement, tape measure, wrap it around the biggest part of your arm, that's your biceps probably, and what you have, add 4 inches to that. If you want your sleeve to be smaller, then you can add like 2 inches, and if you want it way bigger, then you can add more than 4 inches, 5, 6, whatever. But we are going to be taking our measurements around our arm and then plus 4 inches, and you're going to be working in multiples of 3. So it will be like 1, 2, and 3 plus 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Don't make it tight. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, until you have your measurements. So that's the measurements around your arm plus 4 inches. Don't make the chain tight, otherwise it will look funny when we join it, so keep it loose. So this is my chain, and this is about 14 inches because around my biceps is 10 inches, and when I add the 4 inches it becomes 14 inches. Okay, so we are going to be working in rounds, which means we are joining the first chain to the last chain. So you're going to make it like this, straight, okay? And then you're going to go into this first chain here, and we are going to make a slip stitch like this. Okay, so this is it. So from now on, we're going to be working in rounds. However, we're going to be changing direction after every round so that our pattern matches what we have on the cardigan. So you're going to chain 3, okay? And this chain 3 counts as a stitch. Okay, so this is our first double crochet. So in that very same stitch here, we are going to make 2 double crochets. So this is our first cluster, okay? So chain 3 counts as a stitch plus these 2, that's our first cluster, okay? So it's going to be the same pattern, just the beginning and the ending is different because we are working around. So you're going to skip these 2 stitches, and then into the third one you're going to make your second cluster. Sorry, you have to chain a 1. So chain 1, skip 2, 1 and 2, and in the third one make a cluster. So you go in with 3 double crochets like this, and then chain 1, skip 2, into the third, 3 double crochets. Okay, so you chain 1, skip 2 into the third, 3 double crochets, chain 1, and you're going to repeat, okay? So it's chain 1, skip 2, 3 double crochets, chain 1, skip 2, 3 double crochets, okay? And I'll meet you here at the end. I'll meet you at the end of the round so that we can close it off. All right, so we are at the end, and as you can see, I have 2 stitches left. So you're going to chain 1, and you're going to go straight on top of this chain 3 and make a slip stitch to close off. So it should look like this, okay? So that is our first round. Now we're going to go to second round. So second round, we are going to chain 3, and we're going to be turning our work at the end of every round. So chain 3 and then turn your work. This chain 3 counts as a stitch, okay? So we're going to go into this chain space here and work 2 double crochets like this. So that's our first cluster, then chain 1, and then go into the next chain space, make 3 double crochets, and then you're going to chain 1, go into the next chain space, make 3 double crochets in that same chain space, chain 1, go into the next chain space, 3 double crochets, and you're going to repeat this until you get to the end of the round, and then I can show you what to do next. So I am at the end of round 2, right? So I have my last cluster, then you chain 1, and then on top of this chain 3, make a slip stitch like this. So that's the end of round 2. So for round 3, we're just going to repeat what we did in round 2. You chain 3, turn your work, and chain 3 counts as a stitch. So in this chain space you only make 2 double crochets, so that's a full cluster, and then you chain 1, go into the next chain space, make a second cluster, chain 1, go into the next chain space, make your third cluster, and just continue repeating this until you have the length of your sleeve that you want before we put the cuff. So measure from your underarm all the way to where you want your cuff to start, and then stop there, and then we'll come undo the cuff. Okay, so just continue going round. Once you get to the round, chain 3, turn your work and go round again like that. Okay, it's easy like that, and then I'll see you once you have enough length so that we can do the cuff. So this is what I have, the length of my sleeve. I measured from my underarm to where I want my cuff to start, and I did 14 inches long. Okay, so I did 14 inches long, but if you want your sleeve longer, then you can add more inches. Just measure from your underarm to where you want your cuff to start. Could be probably you want it to start from your wrist or something like that. Just take that measurement from your underarm all the way down to where you want your cuff to start. So now we want to start on our cuff, and I want to make it like this small. I have a small wrist, so I am going to reduce the stitches first. So let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to be reducing every double crochet that we have. So 2 double crochets, I'll be making them into 1 like that, but because I want it like halfway. But if you don't want your cuff tight on you, or if you want it more loose, I don't know, you can reduce, for example, make a reduction, and then the next 2 don't make a reduction, or the next one. Let me just show it to you. So we are going to chain 3, and we're going to be using front posts for this first row of reduction. So for here, I will just make 1 double crochet first, like this. Sorry, not a double crochet, but a front post. I will make this front post here. First one is going to be a front post, right? And then now I'm going to start on the reduction. So I'll go under these 2 double crochets like this and make a front post like this. And then the next one, I'm going to go under these 2 like this. So you just press your hook under 2 stitches, 2 double crochets like this, and then that is a front post like this. Then next I'll go under these 2 and then front post, and then next I'll go under these 2 and then front post. Okay, so now I'm reducing every 2 double crochets, right? So if you want it a little bit loose or bigger, I don't know, if you don't want it tight on your wrist like it looks on mine, then you can always not do after every other. Just do like, now I reduced these 2, so the next one you just make like a front post here, just in 1 like this, and then next you make a decrease, and then next you don't make a decrease, so you only go under 1. If you go under 1, you're not making a decrease. If you go under 2, then you're making a decrease. But I'm going under 2 double crochets, so I will make my next one under these 2 double crochets, front post. I'll put my hook under these next 2, front post, under the next 2 stitches, front post, under the next 2, front post. And I'm going to do this all the way until I come to the end of this round, and then I am going to show you how we move from there. Okay, so it will start to look like this. So I have come to the end and I made my last reduction here. So now we want to close it off. So I'll go on top of this chain 3 here and then slip stitch. Okay, so that is the end of our row 1 of the cuff. So for row 2 we are going to be making front post and back post. So what you do is you're going to chain 3 and we are working in one direction, so we are going round and round in one direction. So you're going to chain 3 and you're going to make a front post in this first stitch. Okay, so front post is just like a double crochet on that. Instead of placing your hook in these 2 loops, you just place it under this stitch like this. So just go on and make your front post. Okay, now for the back post it's the opposite. Instead of placing it under this stitch like this, you're going to go from behind like this, place it over that stitch. So it's over the stitch and it looks like this in the back. Okay, so you're going to so back post, you come from the back over the stitch and complete your back post. And then next is going to be a front post. So we are alternating between front post and back post. So front post, back post. Now front post and front post. Back post from the back over the stitch. Front post under the stitch. Back post from the back over the stitch. And you're just going to repeat this until you get to the end of the round. So continue doing front post, back post, front post, back post until you get to the end of the round. So coming to the end, this is my back post. Now my last is a front post. So to close it off, just go on top of the chain 3, slip stitch, and then chain 3 to start on row 3. So row 3 we are going to just repeat what we did on row 2. You're just going to go where you have a front post, you will make a front post, and where you have a back post, you will crochet a back post. Front post, back post, front post, and back post. Front post and back post. And you're just going to repeat this. Once you get to the end, close it off by making a slip stitch on top of the chain 3, and you're going to repeat until you have the length of your cuff that you want. This is how mine looks like. And I did about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows. Okay, it is stretchy. So this is what I have after my 9 rows of the cuff, and the whole thing is about 16.25 inches. So you can make this longer or shorter depending on your preference. So once you're done, just chain 1 and then cut off your yarn, and then you're going to do a very identical one to that. Same number of stitches that you start with, same number of rows, and the same number of rows here. And once you have the 2 sleeves, then we're going to join everything to finish up our cardigan before we do the final ribbing of the cardigan. Okay, so I'll see you once you have your second panel sleeve. So to assemble everything, we are going to lay it like this. This is the wrong side up and this is the right side, so wrong side facing outwards, and then the right side is inside. Okay, so just assemble everything like this, and we're just going to sew from the front panels onto the back panels. Okay, so let's do that. So for this you can use a darning needle like I'm going to, or you can use your hook and just do slip stitches in every stitch. So we'll just, I have no special method. I will just sew this together using my needle, and if you're using a hook, just slip stitch. So I'm going to work in both loops. So make sure your, like this cluster is on the other cluster so that everything is in line. You can do this with a hook, it will be way faster. So do this until you get to the end of your front panel and back panel, and it should look something like this. That's how mine is looking. And once you're done, then you're going to do on this side too, and then we'll join the sleeves. So this is what it looks like in the end. Do the other side. Okay, so 2 panels attached, and now we are going to do the sleeves. Okay, so let's attach them now. So we are now going to attach the sleeves. So our cardigan is back to being on the wrong side out, okay, like this, and our sleeve is the right side. Okay, the right side is out, the cardigan, the wrong side is up. Okay, this is the wrong side. So what we are going to do is I'm going to lift this and I'm going to put in my sleeve like this. Just align it here and here, and then I'm going to put this back like this. Okay, so it looks like this. Okay, so just stretch this out a little bit like this, and then I'm going to put a stitch marker where I will start and end, where my sleeve starts here. Okay, so I'll put my stitch marker here. So this is how we have the sleeve, and now we are going to just join around like this. So let's do that. So I'll start from down here where I have my stitch marker and just go round. Okay, so I'll go into this stitch here and then this first stitch over here like this. Reattach my yarn like this, and then I'm just going to work slip stitches or single crochets, whatever you want to use. And as for me, I'm going to use single crochets just so that it is more secure. So I will go in with single crochets. Just like this. You can use a yarn needle if you like, but I prefer to use single crochets for this part. So I'm just going in both the sleeve and the panels, and I'm not going in any specific stitch count. I'm just going into every stitch. That I see. Just to attach the two together. Okay, so I'm going to go all around until I'm back here where I have my stitch marker, and then we will go down. So we are back. I went all round and I'm back here. So what I will do is I'll close this off like this with a slip stitch, and then now work my way down. So remove the stitch marker, and we are going to work our way down, making sure that these are aligned, where you have this and the way we have the chains is all aligned. So I will just go down. You can use a slip stitch here if you like, and I will just sew this together all the way to the bottom. So continue doing this, and I will see you at the bottom. Okay. So when you're done, it should look something like this. This is on the wrong side, and then you can just chain one, cut off your yarn, and when you turn it to the right side, this is how it looks. And the sleeve is also attached. So then you're going to do the other side as well, same thing, and then we'll come and do the rest of the ribbing. So everything is now on, and we are going to go to the ribbing. So we will do the bottom ribbing first, and once we are done with the bottom ribbing, then we can do the ribbing all along this area here. So let's do the ribbing, and it's going to be matching the one on the wrist, so front post, back post. We are starting here at the bottom, and I'm simply going to go into this stitch first, this first stitch here, reattach my yarn like this, and we are going to do a row of double crochets first. So I'll chain 3. That counts as a stitch, so I will not work in this stitch. However, I will go into this second stitch or chain, and I will work a double crochet, and I'm going to go into every stitch working a double crochet, so or chain. Second double crochet here, and remember at the beginning we were skipping 2 double crochets, 2 chains, so yeah, it's 2 chains in there. so 2 stitches, and then a stitch in here, and these 2 chains. That's one, and the next chain. So I'm working a double crochet in every chain. Okay, so I'll do that until I come to the other side. So do the same, and I will meet you once you're done with this row. So I have come to the end, and this is my last stitch. So what we will do is we're going to chain 3, turn our work, and under this first stitch here, leave alone this one, but the second one we are going to make a front post. So leave this first stitch, this chain 3 counts as a stitch, and now we're going to go in our second stitch under it and make a front post like this. And then next is going to be a back post, so we're going to go from the back over this stitch and make a back post. And next is a front post, so we go under this double crochet stitch and make a front post. And next is going to be a back post, so come from the back over it like this and make a back post. And we are just going to make front post, back post until we get to the end of this row. So keep alternating front post, back post until the end. So I'm getting to the end, and I have here a back post, and this on top of this chain 3 I will make a double crochet to finish off this row like this. Okay, so now we are going to the next row, so you'll chain 3 and we will turn our work, and this chain 3 counts as a stitch, so I will just go here. As you can see, it's a front post, so I will make a front post, and if you have a back post, then go ahead and make a back post, and then where you have a back post, make a back post, and where you have a front post, go ahead and make a front post, back post, and front post. And you're just going to keep repeating this until you have enough rows. Okay, so I'll see you once you have enough rows so that we can now work on this side. So I did 5 rows, so it was 1 row of double crochet and then 4 rows of front post and back post. And you can make this longer if you like to, but I only did a total number of 5 rows. So now I didn't cut my yarn, so leave your yarn on. Now we want to work this part, and this part, if you don't want to do this ribbing on this part, it's also fine. You can just do like 1 row of single crochets or 1 row of double crochets just to even this out, and it will be fine. But I want to try to do this ribbing also on this other part, so let's do that. So we will start with chain 3, just like we did with the other one, and we are going to do a row of double crochets. So I will just go into this stitch here. I'll work a double crochet, So this counts as a stitch, right? So I'll work one in here, and then I'll go here in this stitch right here. I'll work a double crochet, and then I'll go in here, work a double crochet, then right here work a double crochet, so you can see where I'm working them. Then in this space here, double crochet, and on top of this here, double crochet, double crochet, double crochet in this stitch here. So now I'm done with where the ribbing was. Okay, so from here on, as you can see, so from here on I'm going to be working like in this stitch here. That's what, like at the bottom of the stitch of the row, because the rows were like this, right? So this is the bottom of the row. I worked in there one double crochet, then I'll work another in this stitch, one double crochet, and in this chain area here where we had a chain, you see here, or was it a double crochet? So this part here, I'll work 2 stitches in there. So I'll put one here and another there, like that. Okay, and then I'll work one at the bottom of this row here. So I'm working one double crochet in every stitch, I might call it like that. So in this long one I work 1 and then 2, and then at the bottom here I work 1, and then in the middle here I work 2, and then in this space here I work 1 and 2. So I'm going to do that until I go round. Okay, so once you get to the top, I needed to show you that. So once you get to the top, this is where you have like the back panel. We're working on the front panel now. This is the back panel. So you're just going to skip this middle stitch here where we joined, and you will work in this one. So up here you're just going to go in with 1 double crochet. So here where we had the chain, you make 1 double crochet, and then you'll make 3 double crochets in these stitches, and then where we have the chain, make a double crochet in there. Okay, so you're making a double crochet in every stitch. Okay, so you continue doing that, and when you get here to this corner, just skip this corner stitch, and then you're back to working 2 stitches in every row. Okay, so I came all the way down, and now I'm in this last row. So I'll just put this, and then in this chain here, here, yeah, and then I'll put my last one, so it looks like that. So now we are going to row 2, and you already did this, so you'll just do 3 chains, return our work, and we go into the second double crochet and make a front post. So I'll go here, second double crochet, so leave this one alone because this is with this chain 3 counts as a stitch, and then here we make a front post, and then next is a back post. So we go from the back, back post, front post, back post, front post, back post, front post, back post. So you are just going to repeat this, and I don't think there's a need for me to repeat this over again, because it's like what we did at the bottom. So when you get to the other side, you end with a double crochet and chain 3, turn your work, front post, back post, like that. Okay, so yeah, you're going to repeat this same thing we did at the bottom here, and you can make as many rows as you wish. Okay, so I went around a couple of times, I think 1 2 3 4 5, so 5 rows, just like we did at the bottom, but you can go more rows if you like. And I chained 1 and cut off my yarn. So we are done with this cardigan, and now it's just a matter of sewing in the ends, and it should be done. Yeah, that's all to it. So I sew in my ends, do the same, and then I show you the final product. So that's my finished cardigan. Looks good, I love it. So I hope you like it too. If you want to buy the written pattern, please check the link in the description box. And thank you so much for your support. I can't wait to see what you create with this. So tag me on social media. It's AC Crochets on all platforms. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.